Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hi, I'm Miriam and welcome to Afghan Cooks. Today we are going to be making an Afghan basic. In Pashto we call this dudi. It's Afghan naan. Will anyone tell you it's none of your business how this is made? Because that's nonsense. But let's make it. We're gonna start with 1 tablespoon of yeast, and this is instant yeast. 1 tablespoon of sugar, because yeast loves sugar. 1/2 cup of warm water. Yep, that's warm. The reason why you use warm water is because yeast loves sugar, it loves warm baths. Think about yourself. Where do you thrive? Where is your happy place? Probably involves some sugar and maybe a warm bath. This recipe calls for equal amounts of white flour and whole wheat flour. So if you just use whole wheat, it changes the texture of your bread. It won't be as fluffy, it won't be as soft, it'll just be a very dense, heavy bread. You can either use 100% white flour or you can use half and half. And today we're gonna use half and half. We're gonna start with 2 cups of white flour. And then here, you can see my nice, very fancy label. 2 cups of whole wheat flour. I'm using 1/4 cup of oil. I'm using olive oil. It will add a little bit of flavor to the bread. You can just use any kind of vegetable oil that you'd like. And then I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. Don't forget your namak or else your food is gonna be benamaka. The thing that you have to understand about bread is that the amount of liquid you have to add is going to depend on the atmosphere. Is it summer? Is it winter? Do you have the heat on? Do you have the air conditioning on? Are your windows open? Is it raining? By the way, you can also do this in a KitchenAid, in a stand mixer, any sort of stand mixer. I like to do it by hand, again, because sometimes I have to add more water, sometimes I have to add less, and if I can touch the flour, I know where I'm at. So what I do first is I usually stir in what I have so that I have a good idea of roughly how much liquid I need to add. I can see how much it's absorbing. This bread dough is roughly 50% water to your flour. So you see I added 4 cups of flour. And I'm hopeful to be able to add about 2 cups of water. I already added 1/2 cup. Here's another 1.5 cups, and I'm gonna add it slowly. I'm not gonna add all of it at once. Think of adding the water the way you add your moisturizer to your skin, right? When your skin is very dry, if you just put a bunch of moisturizer on at once, it just sits on top of your skin. You have to, massage it in. You have to give it a little time to absorb. Flour is the exact same way. It needs some time to absorb the liquid. We are in winter, the air is very dry, so the best thing to do is if your dough feels a little bit too stiff, if you have to work pretty hard, is just wet your fingers, okay? And add water that way. That way you're not adding too much, you're not ever gonna get too much. I usually leave a bowl of water by my workstation, and then I'm gonna put just a little bit of oil in the bottom of the bowl. Makes it just a little easier to take out. Put this away until it's doubled in size. I usually set it aside for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. And we'll be back. First thing we're gonna do, now that our bread is proofed, I can't wait to show it to you, is we're gonna prep our pans. Here I just have 2 cookie sheets. Use a baking tray. If you only have parchment, that's fine, whatever you want to use. I'm going to put some parchment paper on this. Then I'm going to put some oil on the bottom and spread it around. Honestly, your best bet is to just do it like this. What I recommend you do is you preheat your oven to 425 degrees. I have a few other things that I've prepared. I have just a little bowl with some flour for my countertop. I usually don't have a huge problem with it sticking. I have some black sesame seeds here, Nigella seeds. You can use regular sesame seeds, everything but the bagel seasoning, whatever you have. You know what? It's none of my business what you put on your naan. Here I have some mustard yogurt mixed with a little bit of milk, and you're gonna see what we're gonna do. This is not, I wanna make a couple of comments, okay? This is not the Great British Bake Off or America's Test. It's none of those things, right? No one's gonna complain that your bread is overproofed. Oh, it's not. No, you are going to make delicious, if it sits too long in your oven because you got busy with other things in your life, that's fine. Women, humans have been making bread since the dawn of time, since we could cultivate, even before we cultivated wheat, okay? Don't let anyone tell you that it's scientific, it's so complicated, it's so hard, oh, it's this, it's that. It's not. Bread is flour, water, salt, yeast. That's it. It is the staple of every part of humanity. Do not be intimidated by bread. Did this sit for too long? For sure. Do I care? No. And neither should you, okay? Now we're gonna punch this down. It's a funny thing about Afghan bread. When it sits, it smells olive to your hands. When you intend on making Afghan naan, it just automatically, I don't know, it just does what it's supposed to do. Okay, we're gonna cut this in half because we're gonna make 2 breads. This could make 4 if you wanted to make them smaller. I'm going to make them fairly large because my family will just devour it anyway. So I'm gonna set this one aside. I'm gonna wrap it back in the same plastic wrap that I had originally. Now we're gonna add our black seeds onto the top. This is what makes everything Afghan. Now we're gonna work on our second one. We're just gonna put this one aside and let it sit for just a few minutes. We're gonna put these in the oven for 12 minutes to start, and then we're gonna check on them and see if we like how they're looking. If you like this video, since you're already here and you must have liked it, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. I love to read what you have to say, but only if it's good. You hurt my feelings if it's mean. Hit the bell notification so you know every time we make a new video. Until next time.